proper craftsmanship needs to be cultured in culture, right? It needs to be fostered. It needs to be pruned and trimmed and grown in people, and the environment of that the successful environment for that would be an environment where there is a liberal arts education, kind of looking back at the past and understanding what created what we have today, especially the church, and especially the culture around the church and all the cities and the way we built this world. Yeah. So that's fundamental to understanding my role as a craftsman. I have to know what my background is. I need to know what shoulders I'm standing on, both in terms of my faith, but also in terms of my craft.
Welcome, everyone, to New Polity's podcast. I'm very excited to be here with Mike Sullivan and Jacob Imam. But before we get started, I want to remind you to subscribe to New Polity Magazine, the best medicine for whatever flu ails you this Christmas season. And wow, you are in the spirit of Christmas, consider giving all of your inheritance, anything you can scrape up, whatever you find on the street, to New Polity Magazine, or as we call it around here, New Poverty Magazine. Boys, I'm so glad to have you in the studio. I will be pretending to not know you as much as I do for the sake of the production of content, which is what we do around here. But it's an exciting day because we get to announce, in no uncertain terms, after much difficulty and labor on mostly your part and not mine, that the College of St. Joseph the Worker, the August trade school that we have all awaited so excitedly, is here. It is accepting students now for the fall 2024 semester. It's a go. It's a green light. Praise God and thanks to St. Joseph.
Amen.
Sure is. Yeah.
So this is wonderful, and I know that there's been so much discussion of St. Joseph the Worker that I feel like people might get lost in it, and I want to just start again.
Yeah.
So, what gave you the idea for something as radical, really, as starting a trade school?
Well, the idea was that my buddy couldn't face being in admissions at a college anymore. Like he was like putting his head in his hands and he's saying, I can't do this to kids. I can't tell them that this is going to be financially advantageous to them. I can't tell them that the education is going to be worthwhile to them as like a flourishing human creature. And I was just about to go and start my PhD program and thought, well, I guess I'm going to have to quit like that guy. At some point. We had to do something different.
Yeah, there's a guilt complex of telling people.
It's a very Catholic answer.
Well, no, actually. It's a very guilt. Yeah, it's guilt is the reason. Because you look at people and you say, okay, I'm going to get you into a lot of debt. Mm-hmm. Right? And then the reward is supposed to be that you get a certain pass into the middle class, you get your degree and your education, and this enables you to get a job that you need to basically weather this world.
Yeah,
and increasingly, this isn't true. This is what you found, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from my perspective, I've been thinking about this idea not as a college or a trade school, but just in terms of forming people in the trades, mm-hmm. and also forming people in their faith. Two things I've been involved with for all of my adult life.
Yeah.
And there's so few opportunities, or so few opportunities for people to do this and to learn their faith, first of all, and then also to learn something about craftsmanship in an authentic way.
Yeah.
There's always the shortcut of just learning your specific trade in a specific way and just being a cog in the machine and just, the work a day, check the box each day, never really expand, don't expand your mind, just do the thing you're supposed to do every day. In the trades, that's... it's pretty toxic, but it's very prevalent. It's kind of what we have.
Yeah, Mike, I was in some of these initial conversations about the college. I was feeling very edgy, very radical, saying like, yeah, screw college. It doesn't do anything for anyone. All it does is get you debt and make you miserable and have collections chase you for the next 30 years. But you change your address and no, anyway. But even as I was saying that, there's something holding me back because, of course, no one can deny who's been to college generally, but especially to a Catholic school, the fact that however you get that formation in the faith, however you get in touch with the splendor of theology, with the joy of philosophy, and with the mind-opening introduction to the great tradition, the great Christian tradition, even though it has obviously been forced and squished into this perverse mode right now that the only way you get that is through just hellacious amounts of money.
Massive amount
It
of
seems
debt.
like I don't want to leave that behind. I still would say, you know what? That was in a way worth it, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, these are truths that make life most human and freeing. And so you can't really put a number on it.
So
And therefore, you shouldn't put $100,000 price tag on it as well.
So I see the college is on this knife edge, right? Because we want to, on the one hand, really restore adulthood to people. So it's not just something that's going to set you back in every practical area of your life, but you'll happen to have read some good books.
Yep.
It's not that. On the other hand, it's not saying like, you know what? The goal of a kind of broader, more universal education in which people are formed in their faith and in knowledge of God's creation is not something we're going to just let go of and say, let's just make money.
Yep,
Because that's
exactly.
equally ridiculous. So,
Exactly.
but in most projects, when you've got your cake, the thing is that you can have it or you can eat it, but you can't do both. But you guys are saying, and
Take a big bite. And
Yeah,
it'll still
yeah.
be there. Yeah.
that you can have both the education, the time spent in college, and the promise of the College of St. Joseph the Worker is that you're not going to graduate students with crippling debt. In fact, you're going to graduate them with work, with jobs.
Yep.
How is this possible? What mechanism are you doing? What alchemy? I want to know.
Jacob's come across this plan where we cut a great deal of the administrative bloat, first of all, but then also we have a very focused plan, a focused mission, where we can offer a phenomenal education, excellent character formation, and then training in the trades at a significantly less expensive price point than any other college out there.
So is that all it is? It's just saving money, cutting costs?
Well, there's a great benefit too for training in the trades because you actually get paid to train in them.
Yeah.
And so there's a certain number of hours that you need to accumulate to be able to achieve your journeyman status. But that's actually something that people want you to do, and so they'll actually pay you to do it, and that offsets tuition costs. So in simple, that's how it does. Low overhead on our part, so we can have a low tuition rate that actually is able to be overcome by what you get paid for.
That's awesome.
As an apprentice.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've been really happy to be a part of is sometimes people call the university the universe city. By which they mean that one of the things that makes college so darn expensive is that it's trying to fulfill something beyond its scope, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Not every place is like this, but your basic scope is the formation of people. But for various reasons, we don't need to go down this rabbit hole, it's become a place where you have your last gasp, as it were, of a free and normal and non-slavish existence. So what I mean is college is orientated and they spend lots of money getting you sort of a beautiful campus, getting everything within walking distance, having your food plan taken care of. So you're just going to your cafeteria or your little fake cafeteria that's really owned by the same company that's providing the food for your college. They're providing you with all your events,
It's like
and
a
all
communist
your entertainments.
dystopia.
Yeah. Well, it's like exactly. So it's like
Come on now.
so college.
No, I
becomes-
loved my time in college.
No,
Trust
everyone
me.
does.
Yeah.
No, again, we say this not because we sat there, I think, gritting our teeth through this, but because we really did enjoy it and really did pay the tab.
Yeah.
Which is like, you can live in a resort town.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun, and you have access to things that are actually absent in culture, and it's a real shame that they're absent, like fraternity, like walkability,
Yep.
like a basic structure.
Leisure.
Of
I mean, leisure, that's
and,
the key
and
with-
festivity.
Yeah.
All of that, but the way that we do it in college is we provide it in a centralized way. So the college basically contracts a bunch of people, spends a lot of money to provide a life experience.
Yep.
This is the universe city. They're trying to be cities unto their students.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the great ways you guys are cutting administrative bloat is really just by being in Steubenville, which has the great benefit of already being a city where things are already happening. It's very brave of you because you're going to say to these students, and people are already knocking down your door, as I understand it, but you're going to say to them, like, if you want food, guess what? There's places to get food.
You can get food.
you want to live somewhere? There are houses.
Yep.
You want to have fun? Like, we have festivals. We have a community.
Yep.
And so what you're doing is really, in some ways, just a return to an older model where the expectation was students are not completely dumb, aimless people that need to be just spoon-fed culture, but
Exactly.
are actually part of building it up. They should be out there.
They're capable of engaging with the culture as it is and improving it with what they have as inputs.
It's amazing.
So,
it's going to be
it's
beautiful.
really great.
But it's not just that. It's the fact that students are earning money on the job, which leads to a question that I've had and I've heard other people ask, well, why not? It's true that most unions and trade schools and programs will pay you as an apprentice, will pay you on the job. So why not just do that? Why, what is the need that the College of St. Joseph the Worker is filling if you could just get paid to learn to be a plumber?
That may be the great path for many people.
Yeah.
Right. And realistically, most people probably in American culture. But for what we're trying to deal with here is more of the problem of not the sheer numbers, but the quality. It's not a quantity thing, it's a quality thing. So we really want to create an environment to nurture and grow phenomenal Catholic leaders that are also tradesmen.
Yeah.
And that environment is basically, integrated with the town, integrated with the elderly and the young, in the regular parish setting, not in a sequestered bubble. It's fully integrated, and that training is special because the proper craftsmanship needs to be cultured in culture, right? It needs to be fostered. It needs to be pruned and trimmed and grown in people, and the environment of that the successful environment for that would be an environment where there is a liberal arts education, kind of looking back at the past and understanding what created what we have today, especially the church and especially the culture around the church and all the cities and the way we built this world. Yeah. So that's fundamental to understanding my role as a craftsman. I have to know what my background is. I need to know what shoulders I'm standing on, both in terms of my faith, but also in terms of my craft. Mm-hmm. So the beauty of the medieval churches is something that we can all look at and say, why don't we have that everywhere? What happened there? What was the disconnect? And I think it's the separation of our Catholic culture and our political life, really, is where that severed, and we turn to things that are cheaper and faster and easier. And
I see a real restoration of the political life as a goal of this college, but where the political is understood as that which builds up the city, the polis, political. So it's not just training people to do the job, but to be builders of the city, and for them to learn their part within the broader project of city building, which ultimately is integrated within building the city of God. Right. It's never just putting up a structure for the Dollar General to to do the thing. It's also to learn to build well, but to build as a member of a city that exceeds you, and that ultimately is the city of God. I think that's right.
If I could take a stab at your question as well.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Who is this guy?
Yeah, why not just go to a normal trade school? And at a trade school, you have 2 years of education in a particular trade, which is great. But what we're trying to do is give our students a holistic vision of building. So the way that Mike likes to talk about this oftentimes is talking about the anatomy of a house or the logic of a building, so that when you go in to fix a part, you understand it in the context of the whole, which is so often missing. I mean, the number of houses that I've been in, and I'm not even on the trade side of this, I'm on the nerd side of this, but the number of houses that I've been into where the HVAC guy just cut right through the floor joist, I mean, it's insane. I mean, even I know not to do that. But what are the more detail-oriented problems that are already going on in the trades today? Something that is not as obvious as cutting through floor joists. I mean, those problems are still, so prevalent. And for us, we want to be able to send out kind of our brightest and best with a full education of knowing how not to do that. Yeah. But also, looking back at these old cathedrals in Europe, I mean, it was like the brothers and sisters of Thomas Aquinas that are going off and getting into the trades, different trades, obviously. But what happens when we stop kind of saying that the trades are lesser. Blue collar thing is, the work is not dignified labor. Instead, saying let's send our brightest and best into the trades,
Exactly.
which is really what we are, whom we're building the school for. It's like we want you to say no to going to Northwestern or Chicago, and we want to say come to the College of St. Joseph the Worker instead. It's going to be an absolutely rigorous time in the classroom, and you're going to have a fulfilling career. I think that there's just so many reasons why the trades are a fix to so many of the societal ills today, whether you talk about that on not feeling fulfilled in your job or feeling depressed because you don't understand how things work in this oblique technological world that we live in. Or
Polity Conference, May 20-something.
2024, baby. See you there.
Thanks, Mark.
I'm bad at plugging
It's the
things.
24th, 25th?
23rd, 24th, 25th.
That's right. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And Matthew Crawford would be proud of this
would
college,
be.
I think,
Yeah,
as well as and he's going to
absolutely.
be at the conference, and I hope we'll get to hear from him as well. It does seem to me that it does solve a lot of problems, or at least has the potential to, right? Like we've basically had a compartmentalized view of life for so long. In this country that's basically separated out the hands from the head and made thinking something apart from working and acting. And this isn't just something to blame, 1960s onwards, as is often a trope, but this is a real deep
1908 maybe though. Yeah.
Oh no, it's a deep wound, not just in America, but generally. I mean, I know that Christianity had to wrestle with an inheritance from the Greeks that basically looked at the worker, the one who works with their hands, as a slave, as labor being something that was ill-fitting to freedom.
So it's interesting actually. There was actually laws on the books in certain Greek city-states forbidding citizens to engage in manual labor. Not all of them had this law, and Athens was an exception to this, which I think is really hilarious, because ultimately what they did have to put into code was that no citizen could berate another citizen based upon his job choice. so like it was actually the complete opposite. It's like they had to forbid you from like being like, "What, you're a freaking Mason? Are you kidding me, man?" It's like, yeah, get away! Don't come to my party. Who let you into my house? Sort of thing. So that's just like, that was the culture. It was thick, I mean, we think that we denigrate the blue collar trades. It's like Greeks beat us with that.
And tell me about how Christianity wrestled with this and changed this. I mean, it seems like now we're in a place where people can understand, at least romantically, if perhaps they can't envision it realistically, because maybe the last experience they had with a tradesman was hardly one of great culture. But at least romantically they can hear this and say, like there's something dignified and profound about getting into the creation and figuring out what God hath wrought, and then adding your labor to it in a creative way where you participate in God's work. I mean, that's obviously incredible, even if it becomes humdrum because of its repetition, especially in industrial society. But what did Christianity change for that? Like, what does it mean to be a Catholic trade school, as opposed to just a trade school? And by the way, we teach kids to be good and moral, etc.
When Christ comes into the world, literally in the form of a slave, he sets for us.
Say a command. Sorry, that's my very dumb
build.
phone trying to be smart. I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed.
We paused this podcast so Mark can take a call.
That's my brother.
Which one?
The tradesman one.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll let that pass. I think a lot of it is encapsulated in Saint Benedict's motto of, to work and to pray, where he doesn't say, work for necessities, and then when you're done with that, go and pray. He really sets them both up as paths by which to come to know and to grow in union with the world's creator and redeemer, that they were both essential paths for union with God. And then you're left asking the question, well, how is building one of these paths? Because the old pagan argument, it was certainly against the trades, was certainly visceral. I mean, I think that they literally just did not like working. Yeah. But it was also theological. Like, they had real reasons for it. So for Aristotle, say, let's take his example. He gives the argument that when you use something, that is when it is finding its final cause. If I'm playing the flute, like that is a final cause being actualized. The purpose of the flute is playing it, not creating it. And if I am, taking a little tiny, hammer or whatever, like making a very fine instrument, then I am just as much a tool as the hammer is, because I am just part of the conduit leading all the way to the telos there. Right. And so he calls the worker a tool. That's where the first insult came from. Yeah.
That's where we get that phrase. I wondered about that.
Yeah. And what Jesus does in his very person, and what the church uncovers from the very life of Christ, is that it re-questions what the end actually is, what the final cause is. Is it really playing, or is it becoming a saint of God? And the only way in which we acquire the moral virtue, St. Thomas teaches us, and everyone repeats, is in the active life. It's not in the contemplative life. In the contemplative life, we enjoy the fruits of the virtues we've acquired through active living. Yeah. And then we can take the reception of the Holy Spirit found in contemplation and go off and live better, more powerful, active life. St. Bonaventure says something very similar. He says, if anyone wants to cultivate a glorious life of contemplation, then they must first need to learn to lead a life of labor.
Yep.
So at that point, it's a complete critique of Aristotle's virtue theory, actually. It's like, what is this for? Is it for control over yourself? Or is there something actually in a growth in your soul that makes you more personal with God and with neighbor? So it's actually a completely different anthropological vision of who we are, whose we are, and whom we are to be serving.
So it changes the end to holiness, and that puts everything on its head.
Totally.
And the saying that sanctity is in the struggle. Of course it is, because that's where we grow. We're fulfilled in our work. We're created to work so that we can be close to God through our work and co-creation. As you were talking about earlier, it's critical that we understand the context in which we live and the work that we do, so that we can understand how we can purify ourselves and become holy.
Yeah, you can see in this logic the same logic that ended slavery, right? Because for the same reasons they were calling the worker the tool, they're also saying that if the final end of things is really in this life, in these perfected activities, then some people just aren't going to do those things. Some people are just going to be a means to the end and not really going to enjoy the thing. But within Christianity, what it introduces is that the final end is possible to everyone at every given point, no matter what you're doing.
That's right.
Even if you're chained up in prison, you have the capacity for holiness with this particular situation. And so what that means is, of course, no one's a slave, right? Which is what I like about the way that this whole college seems to fit in and really sanctify and give a better foundation to some of our American values, right? Because I think we obviously value a kind of egalitarianism, in the sense of like everyone is capable of something. Egalitarianism, at least of opportunity, as they say. And we obviously value freedom, our liberty. And it seems like when we take Christianity and say, okay, we're going to sanctify labor here, the effect is that something becomes available really to everyone. And I think that's quite beautiful. It's quite profound. It's a better way of thinking of freedom and the kind of universalism that we're accustomed to in America, rather than thinking of it just as like everyone's got the same rights or something. Instead, we're saying like, well, everyone's called to holiness, right? In their work. But obviously, you're not inviting everyone to the College of St. Joseph the Worker. How many students are going to start out the fall semester?
We have spots for 30 set up. We hope to grow that number through the years so that we would have classes perhaps even up to 100 per year.
Wow.
But we're going to, it's going to be quite a competitive application process, probably about 90% plus we're going to have to sadly turn away. So be the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Be the cream of the crop.
Does the what is the I shouldn't say curriculum, but what does the plan, the schedule for the student look like?
You wake up at 4:30 every morning, take a mile swim in the Ohio River.
It's not true. It's not true. So we start with the masses available down the street at our local parish at 8 a.m. And then we have pretty intense theology and scripture for the first year.
Yeah.
And then also for that first year, we have the anatomy of a house, which is kind of a broad view look at the trades with enough information for all the students to be able to make a well-informed discernment about what trade they'd like to focus on after that first year. So everybody's in that together.
Gotcha.
And that anatomy of the house will take the students from site planning all the way through foundations, framing, all the way to the roof, all the way through the system of building a house. And so that they understand everything so that when they move on to specialize, they will have a decent understanding of all the other trades, so they're not stepping on other tradesmen's toes. They're not cutting through beams to put in, a pipe or a duct or, drywall. Who knows what random things you might find on a job site.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the idea is to just sort of spend that first year giving a very intense look at an overview of the trades and a really intense look at the Catholic history and tradition and scripture that have built up our traditions.
Yeah, and then what happens then?
Years 2 and 3 get to be pretty fun. So
year 1's fun.
By fun, I mean like it is 4:30 a.m. swims in the Ohio River. You're going to be working about, depending on the semester, from 2 to 3 days per week. And that's when the training does specify, like you choose the carpenter path or the HVAC path or the or electrical or plumbing. If you're smart, you choose plumbing. And
here.
And then from that broad base of sacred tradition and sacred scripture, we start to really get into the study of the lay vocation, which is what our curriculum is designed for. So to make this really quick, if the medieval universities were built to teach priests how to preach the gospel better, then our new ones are really designed for the laity. And the job of the laity is to sanctify the temporal order, which means that we are sanctifying our families, we are sanctifying our work, and we're sanctifying the political order. Those are the things that are given to us by the church to raise up to Christ. And so you got to know how to do that. It's like, get in a car and driving before you know directions. It's like you're probably going to go in the wrong direction. Maybe you'll stumble on the right path, but it's unlikely. You won't even know that you're on it. We'd really like to ensure that our students understand the principles of sanctifying the temporal order before they discern how to instantiate them, incorporate them into their own life. And so building up to family, economics, politics, that's when we start to really get into those different categories and looking at kind of the metaphysics of economics from St. Thomas and looking at the kind of the ontology of the political order from St. Bonaventure will start to be some of those new classes that they take. And that will progress through years 2 and 3. And then year 4, we ship you away from the most glorious city in the United States, and we send you back home. And at home, during those next 4 years, years 4, 5, and 6, you are then going to be apprenticing under a tradesman whom we have selected as part of our broader tradesman network. People that we are evaluating for their quality of character and the quality of craftsmanship, so that we know that you're going to be continue to be raised up well by a good man. Now that is, for yours to lose. You have to. Our students can lose that opportunity if they're not showing up to work on time, if they're not giving it their best. And but we're trying to set our students up to succeed, and so that's the next stage. Sadly, they're education goes online at that point, but you can't build a house virtually, or at least you can. Josiah told me about this. It's called Minecraft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Let's not try to
So
explain video games
that's
online.
just the
Works.
Catholic Studies part of the program
Yeah.
goes to online in the last
Right.
3 years, and that enables the students to work. I mean, ideally, we would have them partnered with a local craftsman who's also a solid Catholic that we've been able to vet. But sometimes we may be in an area where we don't know anybody. But we're going to we're building a network, and we're going to try to have connections for each of the students wherever they are. But
So it sounds like the program is front loaded so that the in-class education is happening in a stronger way than the first 3 years, or at least a more time-consuming way, and then less so once the study really is work for the student.
Yeah, and tuition goes down significantly in those next 3 years as well. So we say, of course, not everybody does that. Yeah,
That's true. Well, sure oughta.
it should be. Yeah,
Doing things
That's
like
true.
they should be.
Yeah.
Well, and then I suppose then the goal is to then take any money we make and invest it in the stock markets and in land, like most colleges do.
Yeah.
To get
No, we've
rich.
hired some really great people from Wall Street, top tier speculators. So
We're gonna sell our classes, but as speculative assets. You don't have to take them.
do you know your audience?
Anyways, okay. Well, this is just
it's a true nonprofit. Let's put it
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
a true nonprofit.
Yeah.
And we really are going to be investing in the students. We're hoping to hire our students ourselves for the early years as we build out the college. And there's so many great old buildings in Steubenville that we can renovate and restore and repurpose, for others or for ourselves or whatever. It's going to be a wonderful thing.
No, and praise God for that. As you both know, the introduction of such wonderful young men into the community life of Steubenville and into the work life of Steubenville is going to be huge. Steubenville is as much as it is going to provide such a beautiful experience of community for these young men and women. It's also going to, I think, be the recipient of such a grace from these people being here, and from just the amount of infrastructure and investment that you guys are already putting into the town in order to be able to be friendly hosts of all these students.
Yeah, we really hope to have a powerful and lasting impact on the town.
Yeah,
really improving things as much as we can.
Well, as someone who's lost an election here, I just want to thank you for everything you do.
Does it count if your name's not on the ballot? Yeah.
Is this the beginning of your next campaign?
my next big loss? No. But it is the end of our podcast, so that's a great segue. No, guys, I think that this college is the fruit of a lot of prayer, of a lot of investment, and of just a lot of time, and I don't know if you could say a lot of graces, because I don't know how to measure that. It always comes abundantly, but it's just been obvious that the Spirit is moving with you and has been moving with you from the beginning, and I'm just very grateful for your docility. I know that ain't easy. Docility to the Holy Spirit, the hardest.
It's a doozy.
But I appreciate it, because this college is really going to be a hope, not just for the people that go here, but for everyone who looks on, to see its graduates coming out with a solid foundation in their Catholic faith, without the fear and slavishness that comes with graduating with so much debt, but instead with not just an empty freedom, but a formed freedom where you have skill that enables you to approach the world not as a stranger or an alien, but as someone familiar with its operations, familiar with it, such that you can be a leader in your community. Because I think we've all found this in the community, especially with your own constant work in the trades, Mike, that tradesman's never just a tradesman. It's someone that can approach a problem of construction that baffles others is a sign of great hope. And that familiarity with the world, especially in a world that's increasingly strange and dysfunctional, brings with it a kind of peace to the people that work with tradesmen, to the people that deal with them. It creates training in the trades creates a kind of character of confidence with this world. And I think the reason is that the tradesman at the end of the day is the one who knows that we built this.
Exactly.
He knows that it's not something that fell down from the sky, but it has its origins in human freedom. And as such, it can be improved. It can be destroyed if it's not working, right? It can be fixed if it's broken. He doesn't, we're not
maintained.
paralyzed by this sort of sense that things just come from without and we're helpless and just have to make enough money to be able to purchase, the commodities we need. I've had this experience so many times where it's like when something breaks in my house that I don't know about, it's a furnace and it's doing something it hasn't done before. The initial experience is just like a black despair of like, oh no, my family's going to freeze. and it's maybe the gas company is no longer providing gas because I'm just this consumer recipient of things. And then it's like, wait, slow down. What would Mike say?
Snap that wristband. WMD.
Yeah. Look at it. Okay, you just had your gas turned off. Turn it on.
Oh, you got to start by paying your bills.
But it reminds me all the time that Jesus was a tradesman. And we speak about this a lot romantic. I mean, I've heard so many, I've heard so many different takes on this, right? That he was like, he knew the forms, right? It's sort of a platonic involvement with the form, that's a beautiful thought. But the one I like the most is that Jesus was the one who from the beginning was trained to know that humans built all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he can take it down.
Yeah.
Or build it up. Like he in the beginning, I mean, there's so many beautiful images of him building his own cross or building some kind of
he was a skilled tradesman, but he was also great at demo. Yeah.
But I get this vision of Christ, and sometimes you forget that he's fully man and fully God, which means he was fully tradesman and fully God. Like that was what he did.
Well,
that
you
was
imagine
how
what
he grew up.
What he was thinking about. It took us 6 days to build this thing. Why is this? This simple piece of wood giving me so much trouble.
Yeah, right. No, I mean he had a familiar. I mean, to say familiarity with his own creation is such a paradox. But he actually learned creation from the inside in the workshop of Joseph.
Yeah, that's
and
really
then as he's there, he's also learning that these structures, the things we build, they have this origin in human freedom. They have this contingency to them. And that we don't have to be slaves to them. Like we can stand apart from them. We can build them. We can fix them. We can work with it. I mean, that's why when he speaks, I hear a carpenter speaking.
Absolutely.
It's like, oh yeah, that's a carpenter. A carpenter is the one that looks at that and says, no, that's going to fall down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who builds on a soft foundation?
Yeah. Oh, tear down the temple. I've got it. Me and my boys are going to get that back up.
Yeah.
If you look at just parables, you can see that he was very well versed with agriculture and anything to do with the trades. And
I think there's some just to add on there that the first Adam came in a way, particularly in a career where he was coming to know the world and cultivate it. The farmer almost, his job is to look around and seeing what's happening and how can I help what's happening just happen a little bit faster, a little bit better, a little bit more efficiently.
More cultivated.
A little bit more organized. But really it's just helping along what's already going on, right? Which is such a beautiful thing. And I think part of the reason why so many of us are going back to the land is like we have forgotten kind of the first sources of reality, right? But Jesus comes as someone who's taking that reality and transforming it, actually destroying the natures of the given world so as to give it a new artificial nature, a new artificial purpose in cultivating a new civilization. He knows how to build, whereas Adam ruined that knowledge that he once enjoyed. And that God had to bring a law to Moses and to the Israelites saying, no, this is how I want you to build, and gives them really clear demarcations of how the tabernacle should look and really clear codes. The laws of how they should live. Yeah.
And even inspires workmen with the knowledge of building.
Yes, right. Exactly. Yep. To be able to create the temple. And so when Christ comes with fully infused knowledge, knowing exactly what these precepts, what these principles are that have forever existed in the Godhead and are now to be manifested in the world. He knows how to do that without needing to take granular orders. He's come to transform everything into a totally new social order that is itself natural to what man is supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. The old Adam comes to know reality. The new Adam transforms that reality. And we're supposed to be tending in his way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, learn it here in Steubenville. I'll tell you what, I'll take that class.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Transforming Reality 101.
Yeah. Making all things new.
201.
We'll let you guys work out the marketing.
Yeah. Now we hired somebody else for that. Yeah.
Well, for now, guys, just thank you so much for all your work that you put into this.
Mark.
It's been a long time and a lot of work, and I know it's not always what you wanted to be doing, but darn it, it's what you did. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, everyone, please, the website is live.
It is live.
Can you tell it to me?
collegeofstjoseph.com.
collegeofstjoseph.com. If you are an interested student, get on there. Start your application. And you guys are also still doing a lot of sort of one-off classes in timber framing and things like this?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited for these. So there's these, come to Steubenville for from a week to a month. There will be some sort of class learning the trades. There will always be a theology component to it. If you're kind of interested in dabbling in this is a great way of figuring out whether or not you want to do this further. There's some, I got to say, I'm pretty excited for this Intro to Home Ownership class. I wish I could have had this class before. I mean, Andrew Jones pretty much was my class. Yeah. Mike Sullivan is my current class in this. And but come know like how to take care of your home if you're a new home buyer. And then
that's really going to be a fun class.
That's great.
Yeah,
we'll do kind of a domestic church theology course alongside that.
That's sweet.
So those are found through the SteubenvilleWorkshop.com.
That's right. Mm-hmm. But as far as any other information on the college, you can go to collegeofstjoseph.com. And if you guys have any questions, I think all the contact is there.
Yep.
And I think for now, again, thank you.
Keep us in your prayers.
Yes.
Please.
Of course. Yeah, please pray. St. Joseph has been a mighty patron. But, he subcontracts too.
He does, yeah.
So you pray too, all right? All right, everyone. Have a great day, and please subscribe to New Polity Magazine. Goodbye.